Actually recording.
Ladies, gentlemen, and people who fall into neither category, welcome to Star Trek Reliant, a Star Trek Adventures podcast. I will be your host this evening. I am Geraldine Blackwell, and I'm going to be DMing. Aren't you lucky? Now let's go over our players for this evening. Starting off in the number one spot, we have our Dr. Eli O'Connor.
Oh, hey, that's me. I'm Dr. Eli O'Connor, and I might have accidentally injected myself with something that's making me drowsy.
Next up in spot number two, we have Ensign Mary, last name not found.
Oh, yeah, that's me. I will be playing the new security ensign, Mary, whose name I wrote down forever ago and now can't find or remember. So just Ensign Mary will work.
It's just part of the amnesia that seems to follow anybody who thinks about her too hard.
See, I like that. Oh, and I'm the grumpy old Nord, for those who don't remember my voice.
And in the next spot, we have Captain Marcus Graves, as well as our science officer, Setsa Jigoro, who is probably going to be a bit more used tonight than the captain. But hey, still captain.
Setsa and Marcus are not here. They are sleeping.
And also the voice of every single tardigrade in the universe.
Indeed.
And last but definitely not least, the man who makes sure that everything works, both in and out of the podcast, our engineer, Rick Tier.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the Zag. It is a pleasure. I don't know whether to say what next, because I don't know exactly what the right wording is for a podcast. Thank you for listening, anyway.
Also, I can't remember the details, but I believe we're hosted on Starbase UGC. Can anybody help me with that?
We are.
Cool, I remembered something. Well, without further ado, insert inspiring theme music and opening credits here. Thank you. We start off our episode, as we so often do, with Marcus Graves on the bridge of the Reliant. Other members of the crew may be there if they wish. The communications officer turns to Marcus and says, "Captain, we have an incoming hail."
On screen.
The screen resolves into the face of Admiral Shoko Futagami, the commander of the exploration initiative that the Reliant is part of. She smiles at Marcus. "Good evening, Captain. How are you doing?"
Oh, dandy.
"Well, given everything that's happened to your crew, I'm surprised to hear that, but I have some good news for you. I have a nice, simple assignment. It's just some simple archaeology. You feel up for having a poke around a dead system?"
Just before I give the answer to that, I will also add in the internal monologue for Marcus Graves, which is the lies we tell ourselves. But to Futagami, he says, "Yeah, my crew's up for that right now."
So here's what I've got for you. It's over in system TEK 486B. That's only a bit of ways off your current patrol route. That system has a lot of radiation coming from it, but we believe that it used to be inhabited. We think there's also at least a small power signature still left in the system. So we want you to go in, check it out, scan everything, give us a leg up for when we send out some archaeology teams. Given the vast amounts of radiation, I'm suspecting a Class CK end of the world scenario, so you're probably not going to find any life.
Well, understood.
All right. I wish you the best, Reliant. Futagami out. The screen closes.
Marcus nods, says to whoever's nearby, and there I was for a second, hoping we were going to be exploring some nice, pleasant, prairie, savanna, M-class world, bunch of life. But no, heavy radiation. Again. But, hey, it's something. Let's see. What's our approximate ETA?
Moon turns around from his seat and looks back at the captain. ETA is about 1 hour, less if I can shave off a few bits.
All right, pretty quick. Let's go ahead and have the science team prep up. So take some inoculations against the radiation and double check their environmental suits.
Aye, sir. I'll put out the word. From there, we shift down to sickbay, where Dr. Eli O'Connor is there and Kara is there in a biobed, completely unconscious. having finally succumbed to the coma that the Rysian sleeping sickness was set to infect her with so long ago.
Well, this is definitely a surprise. It finally got her.
Ged moves up. Yeah, well, not like she was going to last forever. So she's going to have a little snooze, and Moon gets to be the hero. Great for him.
Yeah. So how you doing, Ged?
I wish I could go to sleep and take some time off.
Same.
All right. Hey, we got a message coming in. It looks like... Oh, joy, the captain says we need to get inoculations for radiation. I don't know where we're going, but sounds pleasant.
You take care of that. I'm gonna go up to the bridge and see what the hell's going on. If we need radiation hypos.
Oh, sure, just leave me down here to do all the work, damn ya. Grumbling, Ged gets to work and starts on the inoculations.
Oh, please, if you weren't doing that, you'd be sitting around reading a magazine.
No, I might be doing all the paperwork that you don't do and push off to me.
With good reason, because I have to do the paperwork of 2 positions.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and shift the scene slightly down to engineering, where we find Ensign Mary passing by on a patrol and Rick Tier at the main console as the message comes in from the captain. The message for Rick simply reads, please check out the EVA suits. It looks like we're going to be going to a very inhospitable place soon for exploration.
Rick sends back a bit of a confirmation, then looks around for a crewmate to pull over to assist him in checking over the EV suits.
Closest person is Ensign Mary. She might be useful due to her security training. Armor and all that.
Ensign Mary, I know you're not engineering, but I could use your expertise.
There's the button. Couldn't find the button. She taps her communicator and she sounds a little confused when she says, noted, I will be there shortly.
It's a short couple-minute walk before Ensign Mary arrives at main engineering.
She enters, looks around, seems very out of place for some reason. She sees Rick Tier, walks over to him and says, you rang?
Yes, we are going to be needing to check the EV suits. I would like your additional eyes from a different perspective to look on to help me as we examine the suits.
She tilts her head in very obvious confusion and bewilderment, and she says, who told you I have additional eyes?
Well,
is Grimnir telling stories again?
I was sometimes I was implying in addition to my own.
Oh, I wasn't aware they were detachable. I think I know what you mean. Yes, of course.
All right.
Well, I can see who's going to be trying to kill the DM this game.
The suits are this way. And Rick leads them off towards, I presume, the transporter room.
So we leave now and return to the bridge as the Reliant warps into system, the very outskirts of the system. It's not that unusual. Few gas giants, couple rocky, lifeless worlds, and near the life zone of the planet, 2 heavily irradiated but very liquidous planets. Looks like 60 to 70% water coverage probably would have been quite pleasant if it wasn't for the massive amounts of radiation currently coming off of them. Captain?
Oh, sorry. So, so Graves nods at the view screen, just sort of taking a long look at the planets. And, not trying to get a little too poetic about it. So he just says, all right, we've got an exploration target. Let's go. Find out as much as we can about this place. Dr. Connor.
Captain.
You up to leading the team?
I suppose.
Alright, I'll figure your regeneration ability might come in handy in case there's any big issues down there.
Is this an archaeological You said archaeological?
Well, yeah, I presume so. I mean,
Alright,
unless
I
this
think
is
by
somehow...
xenoanthropology, would come more into play than me surviving, but yeah.
Well, that too, but let's basically say we need a little bit of an ace in the hole, just in case things go sideways. I'm gonna send Bryce down with you as well, along with Ensign Mary, Rick Tier, and I think I'm gonna send Setsu with you as well. And he just has a slightly uncomfortable look on his face that he's trying his hardest to suppress, but doesn't quite.
Moon looks up from his console, says, "Sir, I've got the sensor data for the system if you'd like it."
On screen.
On screen, there's a map of the system, and Moon starts highlighting small things. Near the outskirts, sir, we've got, looks like, some corroded warships. Looks like they're from two different races. They're not that technologically advanced. Looks like they'd barely be warp capable. Almost no kinetic shields. We've got some heavy armor, though, so it looks like they were relying on that to protect themselves. For weaponry, I'm finding traces of what look like missile launchers and mass drivers.
Interesting. Here, let's see. Any points of interest along that, along the derelicts?
Nothing that I can find, sir. As we go along, if you want, we can scan them and see if we can find any, information. Maybe pull something from the computer databanks. It looks like they've been here for a long time, though. And up towards... Oh, hold on. I've got a power signature here in orbit around one of the planets.
Interesting. Would this be a station?
If it's not a station, then it's a ship in very good orbit, sir. Either way, definitely got some weak fusion reactor power signatures, but I'm getting a lot of interference. Looks like just general radiation.
All right. Let's take a closer look, but let's be a little cautious here. I mean, with these derelict, ships might be poking about here, so we do definitely want to keep an eye out for any hostile activity in the system.
Well, I'm not a scientist, sir. If you want the real in-depth stuff, call Setsa or somebody. But I can get us through the field and move us up to the planet if that's what you want.
What I want is to take a look at that power signature.
Well, I'd suggest we move over to it then.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm just trying to be careful about pirate attacks because, let's just say I do know a few people who would have used a system like this as a staging ground against the curious, especially Starfleet.
Roger that, sir. Camera cuts out and shows the Reliant moving at impulse through the system and up towards the planet, which is ringed by a great many junked space stations in various states of disrepair. In some cases, where the space station stood, there's little more than a cloud of debris hinting at the fact that maybe there used to be a station. But across one station, which goes across the poles of the planet, north to south, you can see that the running lights are still blinking on and off haphazardly.
Any signs of communications?
Checking, sir. No, we're not getting anything. Just background noise.
All right. What about radiation on the station?
Higher than background average, sir, and I'm getting pockets of heavy radiation in there, but it looks like most of the area is pretty much fine.
All right. So this seems to have survived better than most things in orbit. Certainly anything on the planet. If we're going to learn something about this place, this might be our most likely target. So I still want the considering the pockets of heavy radiation, I still want the away team going in full suited. EV suits will also be very handy in that kind of environment as well. But in case there's any locals still on board the station, I do want things to be a little bit more tight with regard to security protocols. So definitely have Bryce informed and make sure the away team is well equipped for this away mission.
Aye, sir. I'll put out the call. Although, to be honest, given the age of the station, sensors are estimating it at about 200 to 300 years that it's been sitting up here in orbit. I don't know that there'd be anybody left alive on there, sir.
Or if there's anything alive on there, it might not be particularly accustomed to having other life forms on board. So, let's definitely go in cautious on this one. But yeah, I'm hopeful that we might be able to get some answers from that thing.
Aye, sir. Moon taps at the console, sending out the commands for Eli, Mary, Bryce, Setsa, and Rick Tier to all meet up in the transporter room. There's also an extra note for Rick Tier to go ahead and bring some portable power kits because the power plant on this thing does not look like it's going to last much longer.
Tessa needs to be dragged out of sickbay because she's delivering yet another stuffed animal to Kara's side for optimal recovery efforts.
Get proceeds to nearly throw her out in a literal fashion, and then changes the lock code on the sickbay door. Go on, you got a mission to do. She's not going anywhere.
Tessa sighs and heads down to the transporter room.
Eli heads down to the transporter room from the bridge.
Mary is probably already there, having spent some time checking out the EV suits. And it might be curious to note for anyone who's paying attention that she is spending an awful lot of time looking at the tricorder when doing so. Anytime anybody tries to see what it is she's looking at the tricorder, she very carefully changes the angle of the screen or changes the subject so that they're suddenly distracted by something else.
Yeah, Rick here doesn't really seem to notice. He's been doing some diagnostics as well as some basic inflation tests and to see if there's any kind of obvious, any kind of leaks within the system or any kind of identifiable errors with that. He's been checking in, like looking over her, but she does at least seem enough to him so that he doesn't really whatever's on the tricorder screen doesn't really interest him. But as soon as he realizes he's actually going on a away mission, an ensign from engineering brings up a portable power and he's actually and a full engineering kit.
Bryce turns to the group and says, all right, we're doing archaeology work, so I'm not certain exactly how useful I will be, but I'll be on hand to help protect everyone if there is somehow something on that station, like automated defenses. Ensign Mary will also be there to help protect you, so don't worry.
That's sounding not particularly convinced.
Hi, sir.
And if it is a more technological mechanism as well, then I'll be able to assist in at least shutting it down as well. So we should have various angles available to deal with the issues that we face.
Always good to know there's more than one way to solve a problem. Bryce makes sure that he's suited up and looks around to make sure everybody else is suited up.
Setsa considers chiming in that she'd be able to handle the computer systems pretty effectively, but doesn't. She simply sees to her equipment and just kind of stands at one side of the group, waiting for instructions.
Okay, so after Rick's put his on, he goes and does one more round of checking that everyone's suit is actually put on properly.
Lieutenant O'Connor, sir, I believe you're in command for this mission.
Oh, real quick, I do want to make one roll on this one.
Okay, let's go ahead. What you rolling for?
To see if Setsa put on the suit correctly.
Let's hope she did. Let's give me reason engineering.
Okay. And Rick will do another reason engineering check to see if he picks that up, whatever the result is. I think that's 17.
Oh, 3 successes.
There we go. What did I miss? I'm sorry. Internet.
Just a second.
Setsa has her suit on very well. It looks like she's finally getting something to distract her from everything else that's going on. Or maybe she just likes being in a Stay Puft Marshmallow suit.
And Rick also notices that she's done a very thorough job there.
Yeah,
so for Eli, we're just checking the suits out. The command of the mission is yours.
Oh boy, what do I gotta do to check suits in case, are we good with everyone else?
Bryce looks over. We should be good, sir. We're just waiting on your command to board the station.
Alright, let's get the suits on and head over, he says, starting to put on his suit.
Bryce takes a moment to help check Eli's suit, and then when everybody's ready, they all move on to the transporter pad. A curtain of blue light falls over the party. When it rises again, the party is now on board of a very decrepit station. Trash and dust line the hallways, lights blink and flicker. Many of them don't even work. Rusted fans swirl, but do little to move turgid, unpleasantly humid air. Fortunately, because the party is wearing EV suits, they don't have to deal with most of that.
Seems the environmental systems could do with a bit of work.
Bryce looks around. Yeah, on the other hand, they're still working after who knows how long. If we search around, we should be able to find some sort of sign or directory.
Good idea. Let's stick together, move, and find something.
And so Rick pulls out his tricorder and starts scanning. Mainly for like power and that kind of thing. See how power flows through the system and see what the actual power system is like.
Go ahead and give me a roll, Rick. Let's use Insight Engineering.
Okay, so 12. 3 successes.
The systems here are very simplistic. It doesn't take you any time whatsoever to trace down all the power routes. From here, you're not only relatively sure of where engineering is, you think you also know where command is. You can also spy several other rooms, but unfortunately, due to the fact that they're not drawing as much power, you can't quite figure out what they are. However, you do have now a rudimentary map of the station.
I've been able to map quite a bit of the power systems. These heavy drawers imply, I think this is engineering that would make sense in terms of where it's placed within the ship and the amount of power being drawn and generated by there, and I think this would have to be the main control panel. So where do you want to go next?
I'm thinking maybe we secure engineering, see if we can get anything more operational, then head for a bridge.
That sounds like a good idea, sir. I do remember them telling us that the power plant was on its last legs, so maybe it's best to just go there first. If all else fails, we can just bypass it with one of the power units.
Yes. Alright, stick together, people. Let's move.
The group moves along down through the trash-filled, dusty hallways. Eventually, let's see, whoever's in front, go ahead and give me... insight security check.
Boy, who's in front?
Well, I would suggest that it's probably either Mary or Bryce, but you're the one in charge, Doctor.
Mary, you're taking point.
Alrighty. Give me 1 second. I am trying to find something I'm going to need for this. I think that was a 7 and a 4, so...
11.
2 successes.
Which is pretty good, but I just want to say real quick, she's as oblivious as Kara.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very few of us actually, like, Rick doesn't have any insight either, so...
Oh, good lord.
I think Insight 9.
I think that might be the highest.
Sets has got 11.
Okay, there we go. We have somebody who's good at investigating and whatnot. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is that as Mary moves along, she hears an ominous creak above her as rusted metal starts to break away and give way. She manages to dive forward just as a rusted fan falls down and clatters onto the floor right where she was standing before.
Setsa screams.
She looks up when she hears it and says, "Guys, I don't think this is good."
And she had just about enough time to get through most of that before the fan fell and she had to dive.
You know how they say old houses creak? Old ships just fall apart.
Bryce looks up at the hole that leads up to the, ventilation ducts. Yeah, maybe we should work on stabilizing this place as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Rick will want to just look at just how bad the rust or the whatever's causing the degradation in the metal.
Go ahead and give me a quick reason engineering. Two successes. It's not very difficult for you to determine that this has just been up there way too long. The bolts have rusted through entirely. The slight vibration of the fan spinning just slowly wore everything away, and now was just the point at which it decided to meet the ground.
Yeah, but besides just replacing the entire lot of metal in this place, there's not much we can do.
It is indeed getting to the point where the station is almost unfixable. So it's a good thing the team came along when they did.
It belongs in a museum.
That is why we're here, sir.
I was saying that out of character.
Everyone keep a watch out, I guess, for ventilation fans as we move along. We don't want that to happen again. Come to think of it, maybe don't stand under the lights either, but let's go ahead and continue on to main engineering.
Setsa's furiously looking at the ceiling, having screamed, and then no one reacted. So she's just basically freaked out right now, and at the tail end of the group.
Bryce falls back to make sure he's the last one in the group if Mary's the first one in the group. Come on, Setsa, move it up. We don't want to get anybody separated.
Aye, sir.
A few moments later, the group manages to pry their way through a semi-open blast door into main engineering, which is mostly a mess of cables and wiring hanging out everywhere. It looks like several of the consoles have simply been looted for parts. In the middle stands an ancient fusion reactor, and Rick can tell just from the way the lights are sputtering that it is not doing well.
All right, so I'm gonna use my tricorder to do some scans, to do some diagnostics on this thing.
Let's go with control engineering.
Okay, prove that 16. Oops. Would power systems focus apply?
Yes, actually it would, because this is definitely a power system.
Okay, it's 2 successes.
I should note by now that the party has something like 4 momentum, by the way. I'm sure that somebody will be recording that because I don't pay attention. This is kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, but with Star Trek. The rules are made up and the points don't matter. In any event, Rick is able to determine that this particular fusion plant is suffering just generally from age and lack of maintenance. But most critically of all, it's basically running out of fusionable material. This thing has not been refueled in ever, probably. It's likely to fail within the next 2 or 3 days, maybe sooner than that, depending on what happens. Repairing it is possible, but the easiest thing to do right now is probably just bypass it and run the station off the power pack.
How much power would the power packs provide, and for how long?
The power pack is a miniaturized fusion reactor that is much more efficient than the one you're currently staring at. If you were able to bypass it correctly, it would be able to run the station easily for a couple weeks.
I mean, I could. No, I'll just bypass the current reactor, shut it down, and replace it with the power pack.
All right, one more control engineering, please.
Well, I could sort of scavenge the fissionable material. It's gonna damage the power pack physically, but also it's not going to give this fusion reactor any real longevity. There's still a lot of work and a lot of repair needs to be done, and considering the general state of this thing, I do not consider it worth it.
Bryce looks up and down. Looks like a museum piece, and a rusty one at that.
Alright, 2 successes.
It only takes Rick a few minutes to find the necessary cables, and plug them in. Then, using the ancient console, he's able to shut down the main reactor and route everything through the power pack he brought. Instantly, all the lights in the station stop flickering, or at least flickering more than age requires. There's a gout of dust as the ventilation system kicks on into full gear, and everyone gets slightly coated in a layer of orange and pleasant dust. Fortunately, it wipes off the visor easily.
What's this dust? Anyone?
Setsa could probably try to scan it and find out.
Setsa is going to scan the dust. So
Control
that would be
science.
Insight. Or control science. And no focus applies, most certainly, for dust scanning. One
You
success.
got one success, and that's just enough to tell you what you need to know. It's almost entirely rust particles, just iron that's ground down over time. The place is just literally falling apart, and you've just had a good section of it blow out on you through the ventilation duct.
I'm picking up a lot of oxides and iron traces in the... Yeah, it's just rust.
Like making rust angels on Mars.
Yes, would be extra careful with the ventilation, with this extra energy into the system. It's going to cause more ventilation, more fans to do more damage to the surrounding rather rusted environment.
Bryce sighs. I was already thinking about how the filtration system has obviously been overwhelmed, but I hadn't been thinking about that. Now that everything is trying to move full force, maybe everything in this station will start trying to shake itself apart. Well, we have main engineering. Setsa, could you go over to the console and see if you can pull the complete map out? Rick's got a pretty good partial map, but I'd rather know where everything is.
Good idea. Also, Rick, could you see if there's any power going to security systems? I don't need us getting shot up when we go to the bridge.
Okay, so we're going to have an insight, science, or engineering for both characters. You can use whichever one is better, your science or your engineering.
Engineering!
Science! One success.
I'm going to use a momentum for an extra die. Just
Okie dokie.
3 successes.
Setsa is able to pull out a map just before most of the system shorts out. Rick on his console does a bit better and manages to discover that the power flowing through the ship does not really have any security functions. Under security, the only thing he's able to find are door locks and cameras.
Got anything, Rick?
Well, there's locking mechanisms and surveillance devices. Nothing in terms of turrets or security fields or anything of that nature.
Oh, that's good with that there's no turrets, but bring up some of these cameras. We could probably scout ahead. See if there's any hazards in the way.
Right on. Bryce goes over and hits a button and takes a look through the cameras. How do you feel about seeing the backside of dusty lenses?
Are you able to move the cameras? Can you just try to, jostle it off?
I mean, I can try. This is not something I'm used to. Give me just a moment, sir.
Roger that.
I have to look up Bryce's sheet.
If he has one.
If he doesn't have one, that means I get to make it up.
Yep, yeah, I don't think he's got a full sheet yet.
Cool, I gotta make it up. Bryce taps a few buttons and swears and then looks over at Eli and says, well, it's a slight improvement. I started moving around the camera and the lens fell off. So it's a little blurry, but now I've got a picture of just about every room.
In hand. No.
There's a limit to what I can do with this technology, sir, Bryce says with a grin. So I'm looking around. Let's see. Command center looks pretty normal. If I had to compare it to anything, I'd say it's probably most similar to a Cardassian type of center. Looks like most of the consoles are broken or looted or just generally smashed. But we've got a few of them up there that look like they're working still. We could probably patch through most of the systems to that. Let's see. Next up, we've got what looks to be a barracks section. I'm not seeing any bodies or corpses, so it looks like everybody on this station probably evacuated whenever whatever it has happened. A few locked quarters in there. Looks like the officers' quarters. Let's see. The camera to hydroponics still isn't working. It looks like something got inside the camera as soon as I managed to shake the lens off. Probably water or dust or who knows what's left in there. Getting feeds on several different weapon storage bays. One of them looks like it has a corpse in it. We might be able to learn something about the species that called this place home. Shuttle bay. Shuttle bay is closed. The doors look like they're rusted shut. I'm not detecting any shuttles in there. So it looks like everybody got out of Dodge if they could back when they were able. And finally, it looks like someplace that's a galley, and that's just an absolute mess. I can't make anything out of that. It looks like that place has been ransacked more than anything else. Maybe they started to run out of food before they abandoned ship.
All right. I'm not gonna lie, I'm curious about that body. Like, I know the bridge is important, but scientific curiosity is getting the best out of me.
Well, it's in one of the locked weapon storage areas, so we could head in there, or I could just try to get a better view of it from the camera. Which would you prefer, sir?
I think we should just head in there, get scans.
Aye, aye, sir.
Yeah,
The group forms up and starts to move.
There's some
Go ahead, Rick.
things that cameras just don't provide.
Yep.
Yeah, this is true. On the other hand, to be fair, I don't think he's going anywhere. Bryce smiles slightly with dark humor and starts to lead the group out. As everybody leaves, I would like an insight engineering check from everybody.
Oh no. Engineering, my one weakness.
Oh, successes. Oh no, Mary.
Oh no!
Eli, no, you too.
Yeah.
God.
Okay, so what happens is that Mary and Eli move down the hall, not noticing anything. You know, just getting trash all over their boots and everything. However,
that's just it.
Setsa and Rick stop, splitting the group slightly because they look up and they notice that where that fan had fallen, it's been reattached and re-welded back into place, and it's spinning again slowly.
Rick?
Yeah, there's
Back up.
something, some kind of automatic repair, that, hopefully, or, there's someone else here.
There might be someone else here.
Bryce pulls his
I'll make-
phaser. Doctor, Mary, could you rejoin the group? We've found something possibly dangerous.
Coming back.
Do I get to punch it? Oh, please tell me I get to punch it.
Well, right now it's just the fan.
I have posted a GIF for our listeners of a sheep punching someone.
Yes.
So, you know, Bryce turns to Rick to just go ahead and re-up the group since Mary and the doctor weren't here and hadn't noticed as they walked by.
So it's back up there now.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
definitely see where it hit. There's, like, it points down to some scrapes and to some, where there would have been, you know, like, just gaps where the dust is no longer there.
Well, that's horrifying.
And you could look around the outside. It wasn't bolted back into place. Probably there weren't any bolts left. It looks like it's been re-welded. He runs a hand up and shows off the shiny metal along the edges.
Would we have heard the welding?
Depends on how they were doing it. We were inside engineering and all busy on our own tasks.
That's true.
Anyway, everybody keep your eyes out. There's something odd going on here, and I don't want anybody to get hurt by it. Mary, if you continue to take point, let's continue on to the weapons storage area. The doctor wanted to have a look at that alien.
She just nods and does as told.
It's a fairly short walk. They have to go up some decaying stairs to the next level of the station. When they arrive, the door is securely locked shut and has a small blinking alarm panel on it that says radiation hazard. Do not open.
Mary taps on the door.
Bryce looks over at the doctor. We can get it open if you want. No radiation in there should prove, capable of defeating these suits.
We can only hope.
Ensign Mary, try to bypass the door if you would.
Mary does a quick scan to see if there's any kind of opening mechanism.
There's not a whole lot holding it shut. It looks like just one or two bolts. She could probably fire her phaser and take those out pretty easily, and that would cause the door to fall back into the floor.
She punches it.
Let's go ahead and have a roll. Fitness security.
Ouch.
2 successes.
So Mary takes a good run and shoulder checks the door, and it bends inward, but it doesn't quite break. However, she's made a good start on it, so Bryce just moves over and helps her just shove the thing down, the rusted metal quickly giving way behind combined strength. The door leads onto a catwalk for the room beyond, where in various places there are missiles stored upright with various hazard warnings around them. There are also bins with what look to be very perfectly smooth spheres. Down at the bottom of the catwalk, near where a couple missiles have collapsed, there looks to be the corpse of an avian-like creature. It doesn't seem to have decayed very much, probably due to the fact that there's so much radiation around, nothing could even manage to break it down. It's got bright blue feathers, also accented with orange and yellow. It's wearing some sort of militaristic uniform. Bryce moves over to the railing and says, "Well, we got the door open for you, Doctor."
Yep, and, I'm curious. Those pieces of doors, hide one of the pieces of doors. I want to see if it puts itself back together when we leave.
Okay. Bryce goes over and looks at the door and everything on it and grabs a couple chunks of what he assumes to be important pieces of the door and just keeps them with him.
Alright, I'm gonna find a way to get down there to the body and take a scan.
Looks like there's a ladder over there, sir. It looks a bit rickety, though, so be careful.
Alright, ladder time.
Let's go ahead and get a simple fitness security check from Eli.
What the fuck is with today?
Eli moves to...
Hold on a second, I use a momentum to reroll.
Nope. Eli starts to move down the ladder, and one of the rungs breaks, and he loses his balance and falls straight back onto his back. Thump.
Sets and runs over.
Eli, are you dead again?
I wish.
Eli is slightly sore, but not terribly injured. If anything, his pride is the most wounded thing.
Do you need help?
No, I'll live.
Alright, well, if you see any monsters, just yell at us and we'll probably do something.
Bryce holds up a tricorder. Given the radiation in this room, I'd be very surprised if there was anything alive.
Oh, who knows? We could always find a 6th tardigrade.
Mary
There's
grins
platinum
as she enters.
tardigrade.
What?
Go ahead, Mary.
Mary grins as she goes in and says, or maybe another sheep.
Or maybe another sheep. Eli narrows his eyes as he gets to his feet.
Wait, what about a sheep?
I really don't know. I don't believe a sheep could survive in this heavy radiation. Bryce moves over and starts scanning the bins full of round spheres.
Can I take a guess at what those are before you tell us, Bryce?
Knock yourself out.
Mass accelerator ammo.
Looks like mostly nickel with some iron contained within it. Highly magnetic.
No
Also,
tungsten. Wow.
very radioactive at this current point.
Alright, well, I'm scanning the body.
Medical and reason. Also, now that you're on the ground floor, you can see that quite a few of the missiles that have been knocked over are leaking.
Oh. Oh no. And I've
Set
got
says remaining near the door.
focuses, so today is not my one success only. At least no
The radiation Radiation interferes with the scans, but you're able to tell that this was probably a sentient species, which goes to figure thanks to the uniform. Looks like they had hollow bones, a general ancestry from avians. Pretty standard. 2 eyes, clawed hands and feet, large feathers. Doesn't look like they were ever probably flight capable, but your tricorder also picks out some of the information on the uniform that states that this man was a loader.
There's only one thing to do now. Load him in a tube and fire him off. It's the way he would have wanted to go.
PTSD flashbacks.
Well, at least we have one example of a member of the race, if nothing else. The radiation has kept it well preserved. We can beam it out later.
Alright,
Well-
sounds good.
We should leave a tag here so it tag it so we can get through the radiation.
Setsa will be tagging the corpse, but she needs to do a composure check as she does so.
She also needs to do a fitness check to get down the ladder.
What's left?
Oh yeah,
of the
that
ladder?
too. Okay, so so threat range increased because of the ladder being in disrepair, and then so it's fitness. Hey. So, any complication changes?
No complication changes at this point.
Okay, one success for getting down the ladder.
Yeah, Rick will join Setsa getting down the ladder.
Okay, so Rick, we also need a security fitness roll from you.
And 1 success.
Both of you managed to make it down the ladder. It takes a bit of time dodging a few empty rungs, but you make it to the bottom relatively intact.
Setsa then proceeds to move to the corpse, starting to feel a little queasy, looking at the radiation canisters and just kind of getting a feel for the place, and tries to tag the body.
That would actually not require a roll at all, since basically all you have to do is reach out and put the tag on it.
It's not.
If you have to do a if you have to do a composure roll, then that's probably going to be presence command.
Can I do a presence command to bolster Setsa in this?
Sure, Rick can go up and put a friendly hand on her shoulder and whatnot.
Oh, she's got 2 successes.
Yeah, but let's see if Rick rolls a complication. 1d20 presence command, Rick.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I forgot that.
No successes, but no complication.
Rick, despite doing his best, is not all that helpful. Fortunately, Setsa has managed to master her urge to hurl, which is good because she's inside an enclosed suit.
Setsa places the tag on the body, takes a step back, and tries to keep as much distance between herself and leaking warheads.
Bryce leans over the railing and shouts down, "You want to use the ladder to get back up, or should I just throw you a line?"
I think I'll prefer the line.
Yeah, I think I would too. It's not hundreds of years old. Bryce goes through his belt and pulls off a length of, cable and tosses it over the side and holds onto the end himself.
Eli climbs back up.
Aided by Bryce helpfully pulling him up. Eli has reached the top.
Alright, next.
Bryce throws the line back down.
Do you want to go, Setsa?
Thanks.
She definitely takes the line and just basically holds it. Not quite.
It takes
getting
slightly longer,
how
but
to-
it's nothing that Bryce can't handle, hauling her back up.
And
Finally, Bryce throws the line down again.
yeah, and Rick will start. Both will start climbing up the rope as well.
Once Rick is back on the catwalk, Bryce starts to spool the line back up and says, "Well, we know our equipment works better than theirs, at least."
No doubt.
All right, Doctor, what would you like to head for next? We've ascertained the fate of at least one person aboard this station.
What a horrible way to die. Bridge time, let's go.
Command Center, aye. Mary, if you would take point.
Absolutely.
The group steps back over the smashed door that Bryce and Mary put quite well in its place and heads up a few more flights of stairs to a floor that has only one very large room in it, the command center. Around the room are scattered the remains of various consoles, although there are a few working consoles here and there. There are also chairs and stools thrown this way and that in various stages of rust and decay. It looks like there's a main view screen, but there's a crack running down the middle of it, so it doesn't look like that's functional anymore.
You guys believe there's stairs on this kind of ship? I'm glad we don't serve on a ship with stairs.
It is primitive, sir.
Well, I'd rather deal with stairs than with not working turbolift that with rusted support structures.
You have a very good point there. Alright, let's see if we can get some databases online, some medical security, sift through what we can.
Alright, so who's going to try accessing the computers, and what are you looking for?
Setsa's going to try to access the computers and try to first pull up any logs that they might provide some insight.
Okay, go ahead and give me a reason science. Complication range is 18.
Let's see. I gotta check my cheat sheet real quick. So, wait, why am I trying to make this easier? I get a bonus d20 for this because I'm trying to study computer system.
Right on, 3d20. Once again, it's your reason and science, and complication range is 18.
Oh, dang it. I hit buttons not good.
Damn the buttons.
Do you have a determination that you might want to use on that one?
Will this... Okay, I'll, poking the DM, do I want to spend a determination on this?
Why do you think I would tell you?
I'll go ahead and spend a point of... I'll spend a point of determination, to reroll, but how many do I get to reroll?
You get to reroll one if I... Well, I think Rick actually knows this better, so Rick, you take it away.
Yeah, so if you're using a determination, not momentum, to reroll, you have to assign it with one of your values or a directive, and with that, you get to reroll both. If you spend momentum, you can only reroll one.
Okay, so let's take a look at Set's cheat. Tenacious Survivor would be, or the Joy in Learning would be the two that would come up as values.
I would say the joy in learning would actually fit here.
Ditto.
Okay, so she gets to reroll 2. 3 successes that time, bringing the total up to 4 successes.
Yeah, so for our listeners, we went from 1 success and 2 complications to a total of 4 successes.
Setsa starts to interface with the logs and everything, and almost immediately the data begins to corrupt. However, Setsa keeps her cool and very carefully nudges her way through the system, managing to avoid corrupting the logs as she downloads them to her tricorder. She notes, however, that the data systems, of course, are not very stable anymore.
Oh, I got the logs. The computer system seems to be more or less, wrecked up a bit. But I do have some useful information here.
Let's see what we got.
The last few logs paint a pretty similar picture to what you expected. They had engaged with war from a race across the system, and it looks like for the last few logs, what had happened is it looks like a surprise missile attack had gone past them while they were on the far side of the planet and struck the planet, turning it basically into a radioactive wasteland. A couple people on the ship had basically almost immediately fled for the shuttles. The commander tried to hold everyone together, but it didn't work too well. Eventually, almost everyone fled down to the planet to see if there was anything left. It doesn't seem like the commander left, though.
Was that the commander in the loading bay? No, that was the loader, so where's the fucking commander?
Bryce thinks for a minute. Well, there is the officers' quarters in the barracks.
That's a good place to look. So you think we're going to find another, preserved one, or you think this one's going to actually be a skeleton?
Depends on the environment, sir. I think you'd know more about that than me.
Well, I don't know what the environment's like. What's the environment like, Rick?
I believe from my scans, it would be very similar to what we are in now. So, normal degradation.
Alright, I think we might see a skeleton then.
Does anybody else want to interface the computer systems and look for anything?
Yes, Rick will access whatever ventilation systems and look for any signs of people in the vents or signs of anything going on that there's people still here.
Roger that. So you're going to access the more or less the entirety of the computer system, including cameras and everything, just looking for evidence that anything is amiss.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give me a control engineering.
Just double check.
No threat.
No threat.
Okay. Control. I'm going to use another momentum for an extra dice. Because I've got cautious engineering, so that'll help. 3 successes.
Rick isn't able to find anything truly new that the cameras didn't already tell them from back down in engineering. However, by tracing the various power outlets and everything, he can tell that this system has basically been patched and repatched and repatched and repatched for years and years and years, barely holding itself together.
There's been someone repatching this thing ever since the destruction of the world. Been patches upon patches upon patches, but I can't find any sign of who or what is doing it.
Meanwhile,
Setsa has the internal.
Go ahead.
Setsa has the mental image of a robot skeleton commander at work doing the repairs and isn't feeling particularly good.
Terminator.
Eli has the same image, and he's feeling pretty good about it.
I was almost going to give you some free data, but after what you just said, I think Setsa needs to make another composure check. So let's have another presence command check from Setsa.
1 success.
Setsa is definitely not doing well. She starts to try to ignore the other group as much as she can and goes back through the logs trying to look for anything less bleak. In the months leading up to the logs, when they started to go south, it looks like she's got various different reports that are actually not all that bad. A lot of people complaining about the food on the station, wondering if the war will be over, talking about the shipments of supplies coming and going to the station. And it looks like there's a shipment of something called Chirix to the station a few months before the war ended. The Universal Translator doesn't manage to figure out exactly what a Chirix is, but it does seem to indicate that those were shipped aboard as part of a new maintenance saving program.
That's his mental image. Shifts from skeleton robot to skeleton robot in command of small little beasties.
Does she tell the rest of us this?
No.
Okay, because I had an image I wanted to say.
All right, real quick, last call. Does anybody want to access the computers, or are we going to go on down to the barracks?
Setsa just takes a step back from the computers.
Bryce kind of looks over at her. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. Nothing bad here.
Okay.
Also, a quick question. What color are the lights here?
Basically yellow and grimy.
Okay.
So they would be white, but they've got a rust tinge to it.
Actually, they were probably at least slightly yellow to start with. They were probably sodium lamps, but they weren't that much different than early streetlights from Terra.
For Setsa, they start to go green.
Doctor, could you have a look at Setsa? I'm growing concerned.
Yeah.
Not the radiation, is it?
What's not the radiation?
I've got nothing. I'm fine. I've got the implant that lets me process this environment more, so I should be fine. Nothing to worry about. I'm cool.
I'm still just gonna do a quick
I'm not
scan
worried.
anyway. Not where? Is there
Nothing.
something you want to talk about?
No.
Alright, I'm just going to give you a quick scan real quick.
Let's have Reason Medical.
Boy, reason... medical...
I'm
I
hoping
got
for a
focuses.
complication from this. He's got the screaming space madness.
Aw, I had a song I was gonna sing and everything if there was a complication.
Sadly, doesn't look like. However, I think Marcus knows more about what's going on with Setsa than we do. So, Marcus, give him what you feel one success of information is worth.
You notice that she's nervous, twitching, and holding the arm, just rubbing the arm that has her Borg implants on it.
Oh, I think I see what's going on here. If you need to go back to the ship, you don't need to be ashamed to say that.
No, this. I don't want to abandon my mission. Tough it out.
If it's for the sake of your health, you don't need to tough it out.
I'm fine. And
She's like backing away from the group at this point, like just trying to get away from the feeling of being cornered in.
Sometimes the best thing you can do for the group is to look after yourself.
We care about you. We don't want to see you get hurt yourself, be hurt. You understand what I mean?
I do, but I need to get over this.
Is there anything we can do to help you feel better?
No, just give me a little space.
Aye. You can bring up the rear of the group if you want. Is there anything left to do with the computer or command system, or should we head down to the barracks, Doctor?
I think it's time we pay the barracks a visit.
Aye. Mary, you and I will lead. Do we want to check that door on the way back, I guess?
Yeah.
Group heads out down the stairway, this time with Setsa trailing slightly behind the group. First, they check the weapons storage. The door is still on the floor, right where it was, still with the alarm panel next to it that says, "Danger, radiation, do not open." Clearly, it hasn't realized that the door is open.
Alright.
Bryce looks around. Well, this wasn't fixed for whatever reason.
Do we want
Maybe
to
they
leave
haven't noticed yet.
Do we want to leave the rest of the stuff behind? Because if it doesn't have the material to fix it.
That's a good idea. Leave the material right where we left it, and let's continue on.
Okay. Bryce takes the pieces that he was holding and puts them more or less back where they were. And the group returns to the stairway, goes up one floor, and they're now in a large barracks area. Various bunks line the different walls. It looks like this place was not designed with comfort in mind. It probably had a fairly large crew at some point. In this area, once again, there's mostly trash all over the place. Across the floor, there's things that look like they could be decaying garments or rotting books and notebooks. Across the barracks area, there are 3 closed doors that look like they probably belong to the officers of the station.
You said the guy was a commander?
From what Setsa told us from the logs, it looks like the last person on the ship was the station commander.
And they would
Commanding
have...
officer.
Yes, one of these cabins.
The group moves over, and the universal translator happily does its thing and points out which one is actually the commander's office.
Alright. Bryce, would you do us the honors of opening the door?
Of course, sir. He moves
Mary
over.
gets a little glare at that.
Oh, you've been taking point most of the night.
Bryce moves over and presses the button for the door. Nothing happens. There's not even an error noise.
Yeah, I figure we'd have to force our way in.
There could be a manual release somewhere, in case of emergencies.
Well, let's see what we can do about that.
Bryce steps out of the way and motions for Mary to take a look. Mary, would you give us a reason security check?
Successes.
It takes Mary only a couple minutes of fiddling to find a remote release for the door. It won't open the door, but it'll certainly disengage all the locks.
She just gives a bit of a shit-eating grin and hits the latch. I think this was what you were looking for.
Thank you, Mary. Bryce moves over and starts to open the door, and you can see that at first he's not expecting any resistance, but then he has to strain a bit. Something's still holding it shut. You might want to be careful. Can everybody stand back, please?
Yep, standing back.
Rick will pull out a phaser just in case.
Now that's a fun result. Bryce just made a move to open the door and rolled 1 success and 1 complication. Bryce, using all of his android strength, shoves the door open. And with a rush of atmosphere, is immediately sucked into the room. And there's a bang as everybody can hear him fly across the room and hit the wall.
You okay in there, Bryce?
I've been better.
Rick will come in, sort of rush in and put the phaser down and just gives Bryce a quick check over.
Bryce points up at the wall where there's a pinhole leak and the whistling of escaping atmosphere. That's why the room was vacuum sealed.
Ah. Micrometeorite?
I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. Rick, could you patch that, please?
Yeah, well, seeing that Bryce is actually somewhat fine, doesn't seem to be rather impaired, he goes to the actual critical issue right now and welds the pinhole closed.
Bryce stands up and dusts himself off and says, "Okay, so next time I have to do that, let's get a safety line."
Sure. Now, okay, so this pinhole, this actually helps the odds of preservation.
Indeed it does. Now, the room that you find yourselves in is more or less a simple captain's office. It's not much more than a bed and a desk. And behind the desk, crumpled on the floor, appears to be the dead body of another one of the alien races. It looks like the chair has fallen backwards. Near his left hand appears to be some sort of magnetic pistol, and there's a clean hole going through his head.
Oh. Eli lets out a sigh and shakes his head. It's all hopeless.
Bryce moves over and checks the pistol. This looks like it would have enough force to puncture the outside hull, so it looks like that probably happened when the commander decided it was over.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Not as much radiation here, so I'm going to try to get a scan on him.
So go ahead with the Reason Medical.
Reason Medical. 29, 2d20, 14.
Using the body that you scanned before as a basis of comparison, you managed to learn a few things. Definitely warm-blooded, iron-based blood content. Looks like average height was probably about 5'6". Average weight was probably less than 80 pounds, given the light frame on these guys, as well as the hollow bones. Is there anything in specific that Eli is looking to know?
No, just a general rundown of the species is fine. Any thorough examination could be done on the ship.
You get a pretty good rundown of the species. You think like you know them reasonably well. They fit several other species you've run across in the past that have avian-like features, although it looks like these guys were probably among the least humanoid of the ones that you have seen so far, based on their heavy bird appearances. And thank you, Marcus, for that gift that unfortunately our listeners will not see.
Chickens in space!
Chicken in space. Chicken in space. Chicken in space. Yes.
So it looks like we've got another active terminal in here. See, Bryce rummages through the desk and pulls out a notebook. Looks like we've also got a logbook.
Alright, logbook, then terminal, or terminal since every other terminal seems to be crapping out right about now?
I would vote for the terminal, sir. It looks like the logbook is probably going to take a while to go through.
Alright.
Okay, whoever wants to activate the terminal, just let me know what you're looking for.
Would our resident computer expert like to?
Okay, so just as a
You're in tardigrade mode.
Oh, what?
You're in tardigrade mode.
How did I get into tardigrade mode?
I don't know.
Blame the
All right.
chickens.
I blame the chickens. So, yeah, so...
For the record, I was thinking of these guys more like space parrots, but I think that Space Chicken is apparently going to take off either way, so...
Space chicken. So we've got the logs, we've got basically key information about the sort of the what, the who, the planet, but we're still looking for information on the repairs, correct?
Information on the repairs. You also have no historical background information. All you did was go and look for the logs. The system may contain other things like history of the people, might have personal logs from the crew, might have some sort of condensed timeline of the species.
Let's see. Let's have Suds do one more composure check.
All right, command presence. No successes.
So, Sets is going to hurriedly try to find information on the repairs.
Okay, go ahead and just give me a, say a reason science roll, but the complication range is now 16, because she's freaking out.
Oh! Alright. And, computer study. Let's see, extra dice. Let's see, is there anything else you can do to help this? No. Oh, information systems. No, she's got to focus. Aha. 3 successes, 1 complication.
Okay, so I'm going to cover the successes first. Setsa basically has a condensed sort of timeline for what this system was like before everything came along. Whether she chooses to share that with everybody else is up to her. But the long and short of it is it looks like this system was particularly fertile and 2 sentient species arose at about the same time. This did not cause a problem for thousands and thousands of years since they had no contact with each other. However, round about the time that each of them learned about radio waves, they realized that the other species was there and immediately came into conflict, with each species having declared itself to be the first species of the system and the only sentient species of the system. Things pretty well spiraled out of there, and formerly peaceful races immediately devoted all their energy toward weapon making to get rid of the heretics and the unbelievers and the vile ones. From there, it looks like they started to invent various different technologies, mass drivers, nuclear missiles, eventually a primitive warp drive, and proceeded to make war on each other until mutually assured destruction. Setsa manages to get all this into her tricorder, and then the console fizzles out and leaves Setsa staring at a blank screen. But instead of her own face, she sees the heavily augmented face of a Borg drone staring back at her.
Setsa immediately, violently pushes the console away.
Setsa ends up back against the wall and is now hyperventilating.
Setsa, are you alright? Eli rushes over.
She's very conflicted and says,
I got data, historical information. The conflict 2 species, and it's on the tricorder here. It's on the tricorder.
Setsa, are you sure you're fine to continue?
she wants to say no, but she doesn't let herself.
Bryce looks over at the doctor, who's in command.
I don't want to have to do this, Setsa, but you don't seem well. I should really send you back.
Can I stay here for a minute just to calm down?
Of course. Take your time to calm down. When you're ready, we'll have you beamed back over, and I'm gonna hope you get better, or feel better.
Bryce, meanwhile, is looking at his tricorder and the map of the station. So far, it looks like we could visit the shuttle bay, but I remember that there wasn't anything there. We could visit the galley, which has been pretty well overturned. Hydroponics, I don't have a whole lot of information on. It looks like the camera's short out in there.
Well, hydroponics is next, I suppose, and while we're waiting, I'm gonna contact, Waitley, if I can.
Okay, you can contact the ship. The radiation is not proving any real problem to communications.
Eli taps his comm badge. O'Connor to Whately.
This is Whately. How may I assist?
Stetsa's having some issues. So I'm going to send her back from this mission. Could you talk to her when you have the time?
I will meet her at the transporter bay.
Roger that. O'Connor out.
I do want to see if I can find any information about these repairs. Perhaps I could repair the
Okay, go ahead.
terminal a bit.
Go ahead and give me a reason science on the terminal.
Science is not very good for Rick. But that's a 14. I'm gonna take another momentum. I think we still got one. Still got plenty.
Yeah, I believe this should take you down to even, though.
Okay. Oh! Okay, 2 20s on that.
No.
For 2020.
I love
All
these
right,
rolls.
Okay, so I think we should probably save some momentum. I just want to check with Kara. Did you see the message I just sent?
No, let me check that real quick.
That could be the complication.
I'm
That
gonna.
actually sounds about right. That should be interesting.
I'm very
So here's what
tempted
happens.
to use my determination to re-roll both of those.
No,
Do it.
let this go.
I mean,
Okay.
if you want to do it, you can do it.
Do it.
Okay, I'll let the
Do it.
complications go.
All right. So first off, Rick moves over to the console and turns it back on. Setsa kind of violently turned it off at the end there. Console boots up and Rick manages to go in and he goes looking for information about maintenance and everything. Most of the reports are all very simple. It looks like towards the end there are some computer-generated reports that have been going on and on for, looks like 215-ish years. Most of those have just been piling up, although something has been going through and marking at least the worst of them, the most dangerous to the station, as closed after a time. All he can really find out about Chirix, though, is that there was a shipment of them to the station and that they were to help with, engineering and maintenance. So, unfortunately, Rick doesn't get a whole lot of information, and as the party starts to think about this, there is kind of a grinding, cracking noise. And one of the panels in the floor, specifically the one underneath Setsa, falls through. And Setsa with it.
Setsa, no!
Mary is going to quickly try to grab her.
Let's see, fitness security.
No.
Secure the Setsa.
He's
Save
going
the
for an
good bean.
adventure.
2 success.
Oh.
So, basically what happens is that Mary dives for Setsa and basically feels Setsa's hand slip through hers. And at the last minute, Mary manages to grab the sides of the pole and keep herself from falling through. But all she can see down there is darkness.
What would be a good self-control roll?
Presence command.
And considering one of Mary's values is I do what I want, and also curiosity, what would how would that affect that roll?
That basically is up to you. I mean, you don't even have to make a roll if you have something in mind that you want Mary to do.
What'd you say it was? Presence and...
Presence command.
Mary looks down the hole for a very long, what seems like a very long second, and then she pulls out her tricorder and does a scan.
Setsa, you have landed someplace dark and soft. You can't exactly see what's going on around you, but you can see a pinhole of light above you. You could probably shout back that you're okay.
Ow! She
She tries to sort of muster up that vocal energy to shout back and just says,
I'm okay.
It's all right, everyone. I broke the fall with my face.
How far down does it sound like she is? What tricorder readings is Mary getting?
It looks like she fell down probably 2 floors.
I'm gonna take a wild guess. We don't have any like grappling or spelunking gear with us.
Wait,
Well,
Bryce
you do
got
know
the
that
rope?
Bryce has that cord. He used it earlier.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Alternatively,
let's-
we could just send her back to the ship.
Yeah, we were going to do that anyway.
Bryce looks up from his tricorder. Looks like she might have fallen down into hydroponics. Might explain the soft landing.
We were going to go there anyway. Well, let's tie this rope to something and make our way down.
I suggest taking the stairs, personally.
Yeah, but that's no fun.
Bryce just stares at the doctor for a moment and blinks a few times. As you will, sir. And confusedly goes to tie off the rope and get ready for folks to rappel and or slide down. Meanwhile, we zoom back to Setsa. Setsa, go ahead and give me, I guess, a perception check, which would be, say, in this case, insight science or insight security.
I'm going to go with Insight Security because it's the lower number.
Oh no.
No successes.
It's dark, you're sitting on something soft, there's a pinhole of light above. This is not a good day.
She tries to feel out the thing that is soft.
Seems like a great big pile of something, like soil or something. Based on what you heard from hydroponics, it probably is some sort of soil she fell into.
She tries to leverage herself up.
Setsa is now on her feet, but she is, sinks down an inch or two into some sort of kind of fluffy, soily muck.
She sighs.
There's
And
moisture on her visor. It is very humid in here.
She tries to turn on her helmet light.
Blink. Helmet light goes on, and she looks around the room. It looks like various bits of soil have been piled up into large mounds at various places. Out of the mounds are growing strange vegetables and at least one small fruit tree that she cannot identify. She looks over, she sees that the door is quite well shut. Above her is a very high ceiling, which she has fallen through. And it looks like a lot of the water pipes are slowly leaking and dripping onto the various piles of dirt.
She tries to unstick her boot, which results in her boot getting stuck again.
Pretty much. It's no impedance to walking, but the floor is a bit mushy and sticky.
So she just kind of takes a look around. So it's kind of like a point of curiosity where the scene is just so abruptly shifted that her natural reaction is just to ferret out what is going on in this location.
It basically looks like large, for lack of a better word, piles of just refuse. It looks like there's been some attempts to aerate it and wet it down. Sets of spice, a few things sticking out here and there. It looks like a metal chunk, scraps of, a uniform that might have been piled in. And looks like something might be buried here.
Setsa tries to unbury it.
Setsa starts brushing away the dirt, and she finds something slightly off-white and brittle. As she brushes the dirt away, it looks more and more like a skull.
Is it a bird skull?
It is not a bird skull.
Setsa will try to identify the skull while also fighting that certain feeling.
Let's go ahead and have the composure check first.
Okay. One success.
Setsa's scientific curiosity gets the better of her, and she fights down her, discomfort. There is mystery afoot.
So now the science check.
Science.
Science with one success.
It's difficult. She manages to uncover the skull, but it looks like it's old enough and brittle enough she doesn't want to touch it. It looks like it could be some sort of mammal, maybe a rodent. It looks like there are large incisors. Around
She
this
tried-
time, the rest of the group has made their way down the rope and into the squishy, dirty, presumably stinky, but nobody can tell, hydroponics room.
Setsu will also try to estimate the brain case size relative to the skull.
I mean, go ahead and give me a reason science check.
Okay. On success.
Okay, I am in no way capable of figuring out what this would be in cubic centimeters or something, but it basically looks like it belongs to an animal that was about 2 feet tall. There's a possibility of it being sentient if the brain was incredibly dense, but it looks like more or less just a rodent of unusual size to Setsa.
So is she holding the skull or just examining the skull on the ground?
She's examining it. It's too brittle to remove from the pile.
As the group enters, she points to it and says,
Oh, I found a friend.
Ah, you've made a friend. It's good to see. Did you name it?
Bryce has his lights flicked on and moves over. I think your friend has unfortunately passed, dear Setsa.
We'll have a funeral.
Can I name him Jim?
Jim it is. Jim's dead.
I was going to make the joke, but the doctor's already made it, so moving on from the dead Jim.
"Is Jim dead?"
But yeah, see... Well, here we are. I'm glad we took this way down. It was appropriate to keep an eye on Setsa as we came down. There, I've retconned it from it just being boring to just walk.
Well, I'm glad.
I'll make
you
sure to
guys
include
came
that in the
after
report,
me.
sir, as the official reason.
Outside of Anyway,
Setsa looks around and says,
Well, I mean, it looks like this place is being actively maintained.
wow, it does. It's not creepy at all.
Whatever these, I forgot the name,
Chirik.
Churika, they do seem to have some capabilities to manipulate their environment.
Grew a fruit?
Setsa can also tell from her tricorder readings that the piles are made up of various things, including soil, which was probably here previously, trash, dust, organic matter of various sorts, bones, and dung.
Setsa tries to express the feeling that she just fell into a giant pile of poop.
You are wearing an EVA suit, if that helps.
It doesn't help much.
Well, consider what it would have felt like to fall into it without the suit, and I think we will find it will have helped a great deal more.
I'm a doctor. I've been covered in worse things.
We've all been to Checkers barbecues.
Can we please not talk about food right now?
Is that in or out of character?
That's in character for
Oh.
Bryce.
Okay.
Mine was out of character, but let's put that in character for Setsa.
So Rick will
Right,
start trying to examine what's in this, how the room is laid out, and what the water pipes, the lighting, how things are set out.
Go ahead and give me an insight engineering check.
One success.
Okay, you can definitely tell that whoever did this was maybe not the best skilled, but they've moved everything around in such a way to make the things that are broken work for them. Clearly, the hydroponics lab is not working as it was originally intended. Various different parts are broken and everything, but it does look like the lights have been repaired in such ways to shine down on the growing plants. And the piles of soil and manure and everything else have been placed in areas where drips and drops of water can slowly fall on them, keeping them moist.
Well, does seem to be some reasonable thought put into how this is all being moved around. It's not working as it should, but someone is making a reasonable facsimile of working.
Idea how recently?
Well, the pipes have been broken. For how long? So likely, at least after there was no one left alive.
I would agree with that assessment. It looks like something is here on the station and attempting to maintain it after 215 years.
The only thing I can think of is some kind of robotic drone that has movement, something maybe like Oakley.
Setsa, something about that doesn't seem right to you. Why would a robot drone bother growing food? And if it was growing food, wouldn't there be a lot more rotten fruit and vegetables in here?
That does indeed have that thought and says,
What would a drone be doing making all this food? And where did that other species come from in the equation?
Maybe this other species is like this mouse, rat, whatever we're calling this, was either the race they were fighting or some kind of pet species.
Logically, this is possible. You don't know the other species they were fighting, and it does seem to be about the right size for a possible pet species.
Setsa hums and just sort of stays chilled for the moment, just avoiding the conversation of going back to the ship. Just so long as they're focusing on this, she doesn't have to worry about that right now.
Well, it would seem that there's something on this station that has either been actively avoiding us or by sheer dumb luck avoided us as we bumble our way through the station. I'm betting the former. How are we going to track down something that doesn't want to be found?
Lure it out. Make a peace offering.
Setsa picks up some of the fruit, holds it up.
Setsa has a soft purplish fruit. It looks almost like a pear, but it's a little softer.
If it's connected to the fruit, we could use the fruit to, create a lure and maybe throw in some other fruit as well. If you have any.
We get Skipper to bring a gift basket.
I mean, that would be something.
Bryce turns. I don't think we need Skipper to. At about that point, there's the flash of a mycelial jump, and Skipper is there waving a basket above her head.
Here is fruit. I know that I can sense it. Fruit was needed. Here is fruit.
There's another flash as Skipper puts the basket down and Spore jumps out.
Well, we have the fruit, it seems.
Bryce just stares in amazement at the basket on the floor. I really don't know how those creatures operate. I'm going to be honest.
I feel like it's like some kind of slapstick universe.
Well, we would have appropriate bait, but how would we set a trap? Whatever it is doesn't seem to want to hang around and discuss things with us.
Do we have remote security access?
Sure, we do have that.
Rick, if we got back up to the command room, do you think you could use remote security access to lock down a room for us?
That shouldn't be too hard. The mechanics are at least somewhat working.
We can also keep an eye on the cameras, so let's not do it in here.
So
most of the cameras are fuzzy. I don't know if we'd be able to do much with that. On the other hand, Bryce turns and looks up at the hole in the ceiling. There is a way to keep an eye on this room.
Ah, that's right. See, now the rope's not a dumb idea.
Right, so I guess we just leave the fruit out and... No, wait, that wouldn't be enough. Bryce looks around the room. Mary, can you go ahead and give me let's just say an insight security check.
Might help if I unmute my mic. No, god damn it. What the hell?
No, we could hear you.
Okay. You said insight security?
Yep.
2 successes.
A small light bulb goes off in Mary's head as everyone's looking around the room. Mary's eyes settle on one of the control panels that would open and close the door in here. And she remembers that thus far, whatever it is, has had a reasonable attempt to fix things.
She goes over to the door and scans it with her tricorder.
The door is currently in working order. Definitely looks like there's some parts that she could pull out or punch or just generally make mischief on. Above her, there's also another ventilation fan that looks like she could do something to.
She is going to attempt to wedge the door open with her fist.
Bryce comes over and puts a hand on her shoulder. We'll want that door able to be closed, otherwise we won't be able to spring the trap.
Oh, She looks around, looks up. I have an idea. Give me a shoulder. Sir.
Bryce helps lift her up.
She grabs one of the long, thin parts of that ventilation thing and rips it off. Pry bar!
As she starts to do that, the fan sputters to death with a few sparks and half falls into the room, hanging by one last rusty bolt.
Gee, whoever's been doing repairs around here really needs to step their game up.
I would say the limited supplies is probably the limiting factor. Still, that should do for additional bait.
Ooh, you're right. Hiding time?
Indeed. We'll need someone to keep an eye on the room, and everyone else can just head to the security station on the command deck. When the watcher gives the word, we can lock the door, and then, unless they can climb walls extremely well, we should have our quarry cornered.
All right,
So,
Mary.
Someone need to,
Go ahead.
so does someone need to stay in here?
Well, I don't know that staying in here would necessarily be best, but thanks to the hole in the ceiling, we could go up to the barracks and somebody could still surreptitiously watch in here.
Well, I'll volunteer to stay in here, and Mary is going to look around for a good hiding spot.
You could bury yourself in the dung. Don't actually, though.
I was going to say I would not.
I was actually thinking of that.
Mary, I would not recommend it to Mary because she might actually do it.
Go ahead and give me a reason security check, Mary.
All right, so she has 3 focuses that might actually apply in this situation: infiltration, survival, and tactics.
Infiltration definitely would fit.
All right. I forget. How does that work again?
Basically, once you do the D20, you'll want to do the target number, whatever it is, and then her skill number, and then just 20, because the complication range is still 20.
Yeah, so whatever value the discipline is you're using.
Sorry, what did you say it was again? Reason and security?
Reason and security, and I just showed you how it basically looks.
So security would be the 5 in this case.
Uno successo.
So, going back to the corner, it looks like, Mary could do a fairly good job hiding behind some of the leaves in the canopy and just kind of fluffing up a bit of the dirt around her to kind of blend in. It's not a perfect hiding spot, but it's reasonable.
All right, she does one last check of the room. She says, I think I can be a bush. And she goes and hides.
Bryce just looks back to the doctor.
I'm going to go up the rope. If this is a friendly entity, I wish to make contact with it.
Bryce nods. All right, so I guess everybody else is headed to the command room, yes?
I think that's likely.
Well, I'm climbing the ropes, Eli says as he starts to climb the rope.
I think the doctor has had enough of the poop room.
Yeah,
He's going to rappel down when the trap has been triggered.
Setzer?
I'll go with to the control room.
All right. Everybody climbs up the rope. They pull the rope up behind them. Was there anybody who wanted to stay and also watch through the hole?
Satsa will stay and watch through the hole.
All right. That leaves Bryce and Eli and Rick to head off to the command center. And now...
Wait, Eli was waiting by the hole. He was going to rappel down.
Okay, well, Eli and Setzer are waiting by the hole. This leaves Bryce and Rick to go to the command center. And now... we wait.
So yeah, Rick sets up the door control ready to remotely lock it whenever he sees word.
Let's get a security presence roll from Mary.
What was it again?
Security presence. And your infiltration thing would probably still apply.
1 success, 1 complication. Yay! This is a plot complication.
The door to hydroponics opens, and Mary briefly sees a bit of movement before the door just snaps shut again.
Mary taps her communicator and very, very, very softly says, I think it can see me.
Bryce replies, in that case, maybe you should exit the room.
Wouldn't that just make it see me easier?
If you go up through the hole, I doubt it.
Mary gets up and does like the stereotypical, sneaking across the open room. And she can be heard going, you can't see me. I am one with the wind.
She's also half covered in poop. So Mary climbs.
Yes.
Mary climbs up and out of the hole. Is she still going to wait and watch with Eli and Setsa?
Yep.
All right. Now then. And I have to wait a second because our dice rolling bot seems a little slow.
I actually didn't come up with the command.
Sorry, wait, command?
Well, as in, I'm looking at game time chat, and there we go.
Yeah, like I said, everything was going slow.
I think that might have been on your end because
it
it didn't. Yeah, it didn't come in until after Duncan said something.
Yeah, probably. So, some time goes by, about a half hour. Starting to get boring. Is everybody still content to wait?
Mary looks at Eli.
That's his face is basically glued, like just appearing just over the ledge down into the room.
Eventually, after about 45 minutes or more, the door to the hydroponics area slowly slides open, and 3 small shadowy figures move in. They look around, they look up at the ventilation shaft, and then they notice the basket of fruit, and they run over to that.
Setsa has to make her composure check at this point.
Presence command.
Don't fall down the hole.
3 successes. So
Setsa is immediately in control of herself. She realizes that she had better radio Rick to shut that damn door.
So she does that, and also prevents herself from squeeing and then jumping down the hole to look at the 3 little tykes that have just entered.
All right, Rick, you have gotten the message. Go ahead and give me a quick control engineering roll. Masterfully done. Rick is able to completely override the door lock, slamming the door shut, and also turn on all the lights in the hydroponics bay, giving everybody at the hole a pretty good view of 3 basically rodent-like beings in the room. When the lights come on, they freak out and start running every which way. You can tell that they seem to be wearing what looks to be dirty rags almost as clothing, but it could be more to hold on the rusty tools that each of them has strapped around them. The rats basically bounce off the walls looking for any way out and eventually start just huddling in a corner after they're not able to find one.
Setsa sees that and immediately repels down the rope.
Eli tries to stop her. Hold on a second.
Mary just jumps down.
Between Mary and Setsa both going down the hole, Eli has no hope.
It's going in my report. Well, down the hole.
So now in the corner furthest from the 3 Starfleet officers are the Ratkin basically huddled together, squeaking panickedly.
So Setsa at this point tries to gesture to the other 2 coming down the hall of.
They're incredibly frightened. We don't try to be threatening at all. Just stay back.
I thought I was the one giving orders, but alright.
Note to the fans,
checks
this
the
is one of those points where the scientist outranks the doctor, much like many of those other times at which the doctor outranks the captain.
I mean, I also have xenoanthropology. This seems like it would be a medical.
That's it.
You don't know if they're sentient.
Well,
They're just rodents.
They got tools on them.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I could tell they're sentient.
I'm not.
Yeah,
saying-
so Setsa also has xenoanthropology and also ecology and creative problem solving.
I'm not saying this in character, but this will be funny as hell. Good, bad. I'm the one with the phaser.
So now we currently have a standoff. In the room, standing near piles of poo and vegetables, 3 Starfleet officers. In the corner, huddled together, squeaking loudly, we have 3 Ratkin.
Mary's gonna go stand guard by the door, but keeping a very close eye on what's going on inside.
Okay, so Mary, you start to move, and to get to the door, you actually have to move slightly closer to the rats. And a wave of fear hits you, Mary. You're scared, frightened out of your wits. You think that something is in here, and it's a predator, and it's going to eat you, and you're going to die.
Mary tilts her head at this, kind of
Wait, well, hold on. I need to
chuckles
give
a little bit, and then goes, "Oh no! It's going to get me!" And goes running.
Eli
Or,
face
I was gonna say, or like in response to the danger, she goes to one of her other forms.
become sheep.
Yeah, I'm more worried about the other one.
Oh,
So Setsa
Yep.
at this, just sees.
I am going to go ahead and say
very
that basically
uncharacteristic thing.
this was an incredibly powerful psychic attack, so I'm going to overrule you slightly and say that Mary at least takes a step back in confusion.
Okay, I'll give you that. I still think her response was better,
Mary?
but I'll go with that.
Well, maybe she does that after she steps back, but the immediate response is mostly she just stops moving forward for a minute. And then she playfully runs back and says, "Oh God, I'm scared."
Scared?
There's something. It's going to eat us. It might breathe fire. I don't know.
Okay.
That's it. Takes a step closer to the rats.
Basically, as you do so, you get kind of this feeling of fear in the back of your mind. It's nebulous and you can't quite work out what it is, but you become a little bit frightened.
That's it. Takes a step back.
Eli, at this point, you can work out that with your minimal training that these rats are expelling some extremely powerful psychic energy.
Oh boy. Eli sighs and slowly sits down on the ground just looking at them.
Can I go ahead and get, let's say, Reason Medical from Eli?
Reason medical. Oh, I keep putting 29 instead of 20. Do any of my focuses apply?
If you have any focuses in basically psionics or psychology, perhaps.
Xenobiology, nah. Advanced medical research.
I'll go ahead and let you have xenobiology.
Alrighty. None of my rolls are good tonight.
You're not able to determine much, but you don't think that the rats are doing this on purpose.
It's a flight or fight response.
Mary, that does seem to kind of fit. Maybe they're just reflecting their own fears back at whatever comes close at them. Given the fact that the fear reflected to you was apparently being eaten.
Setsa will check the atmosphere.
Grumpy, we still have you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I just thought Mary might want to mention that to folks, so. Anyway, the atmosphere. Dirty, moist, humid, unpleasant. It's basically like most of the rest of the station.
Probably worse in here.
Probably stinky, but you're in suits, you can't tell.
Yeah, but I think I know what they want to do, so.
Setsa takes off her helmet.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, I need a composure check from Setsa.
What?
Yeah?
Add threat, make it hard.
Oh, dang it!
Immediately Setsa basically retches. It stinks in here. Oh God. Oh God.
His mistakes were made.
Pretty much.
So she's like doubled over on the ground, just blah, and she tries to rally, but ends up just laying on her back, looking at the ceiling and just looking kind of miserable.
So, also at this point, the rats are still squeaking, and something starts to come through the universal translator. And it comes out as, no, eat. No, eat.
Eli.
Try.
You first.
Setsa just tries to reply in the haze of the smell. Oh God, the smell. Which
No eat. No friend. Friend. No eat.
That goes back through the universal translator, and the rats stop squeaking quite as loudly, although they're still huddled together, hyperventilating in the corner. They seem to be, looking at Setsa.
You want fruit?
The largest of the three, who's probably just barely over 2 feet, kind of stands in front of the other two and just looks out and sort of squeaks, "You no eat us?"
No. You friend. You cute. No eat.
"Friend? You masters?"
No. Masters were the birds, right?
"Birds, bad, angry, make us work."
No, we're not masters. We're explorers.
"Explorer?" The rats
We-
seem to
we
calm
went-
down, although they're quite confused.
Setsa gestures for some fruit, while still just on the ground, unable to get up.
Eli tosses over a fruit.
Setsa attempts to catch the fruit, but this needs to be a roll in her current position.
Fitness security, although I think he was tossing it at the rats, so at this point
No,
you're
I
trying
was tossing it at Set.
Okay, never mind, go ahead. In this case, she succeeded, so she catches the fruit. Otherwise, it was just going to hit her.
It's a peach.
Setsa, you have a peach.
Setsa will then attempt to roll the peach at the ratkin.
This isn't too hard, although the mushy ground makes the peach kind of stop halfway, and the largest of the rats just basically comes forward, picks it up, and backs up, and, takes her time kind of basically chewing through the thing and turning it into a couple different parts and passing it out to the other two rats with her.
Your station, or Setsa says,
Your station is smelly.
Yes, that happened. No more filters.
Are you the only ones here?
Only we. She does seem kind of confused at the only ones here statement.
No other ratkin?
Oh. She blinks and thinks. It takes the universal translator a while, but you get the sense that she names a number that the translator has trouble with, and then eventually comes out to somewhere around 20.
Setsa.
Setsa looks to Eli and just says, in that, just the miserable face of, oh God, the smell, it's not getting any better. She just says,
You've got to help them.
Was planning on it.
I just like the fact that no one's tried to put a helmet back on Setsa. They just let her, just sit there on the poop ground.
What's stopping her from doing it herself?
The smell. Oh God, the smell. She is incapacitated on the ground.
You opened this can of worms, now lie in it.
I think most of us agree with the doctor on this one.
Yep.
So, can Rick and Rice return back to the barracks?
Yeah, if they want, there's no reason that they can't go back to the barracks, look down the hole, climb down the rope if they wish.
Eli is going to slowly approach.
Especially since nobody has bothered telling Bryce and Rick whether or not anything has been successful. So they've probably come to check it out.
Setsa's been dealing with problems.
Self-inflicted problems get no sympathy.
Exactly. So Eli is going to slowly get close. My name is Dr. Eli O'Connor of the United Federation of Planets. I'm going to check you over for any injuries or illnesses real quick. I'm not going to touch you. I'm going to use this scanner. It's going to be quick, simple.
The rats stare at Eli, and the girl in front just says, "Too many words."
I get that a lot.
So if you want to scan them, you can just do, let's say control medical, since you're trying to get the old tricorder to work.
What with all the either complication or one success rolls?
Hey,
It's
it's making
not
my
my
life
day.
a lot of fun tonight. You get a pretty clean scan of them. You don't have a baseline to go against. They seem relatively healthy. They're definitely suffering from elevated radiation exposure, but not enough to suggest that they'd been in any place where any of the high radiation pockets were. Which, come to think of it, is probably why that one door was never fixed. They knew about the radiation beyond it and did not go to that area.
I see. We
You,
will-
you hear a voice call out, "Is everything alright down there?"
It is. We have friends. We've made friends. Tell Captain Graves we have survivors.
To which I'm sure the captain's first words will be, "What?"
Yeah, so Rick will get onto that, and Rick here to Captain Graves.
Graves here.
We have found some life forms aboard the station. They seem to be, well, I don't have much information, but there's people alive down here. I don't have exact numbers, but they seem to have made it these past hundreds of years.
What?
Contact Dr. O'Connor for more information, sir.
All right, Eli, you there?
I am here.
So you've got survivors.
Yes, they are sentient. They seem to have been upkeeping the ship and farming with
All
leftover
right.
hydroponic equipment. They are, well, they're rodent-like.
Yeah, all right, how many are we talking about?
They said 20, right?
They gave a number around 20. The universal translator had trouble with it.
Well, we see 3 before us. They say there are around 20 or so.
All right, you can definitely handle that. So, once they're prepared to transport, we can definitely get them out of there because that's not a stable environment for that population. So,
They are
yeah.
suffering some mild irradiation, so I'm definitely going to have Ged prep something for that.
As if to punctuate the "this environment is no longer safe," the fan that Mary had mostly pried falls off with a clatter.
Is everything all right down there?
Fan fell from the ceiling. That's been happening.
Mary shrieks.
This sets the rats off, and they run around the room freaking out and then huddle back in the corner.
They are very skittish, so we're going to try to get them to get the others and set up an evac zone.
All right. If you need me to send over the chaplain, just give the word. Also, any additional support personnel you may need.
Definitely tell Ged to be ready to receive.
Okay, will do.
Get Ged, the other some of the physician's assistants, since there's 20 of them. This is going to be a fun night for the medical staff.
Yeah, we'll have everyone standing by. Also, pull some people from science who have some first aid training.
Would be appreciated.
All right, we'll be standing by. Just give the word once you're all set.
Roger that. O'Connor out.
So at this point, all the rats have calmed down again after Mary's scream and are just staring at Eli.
We're going to get you out of here. We're going to take you someplace safe, place that doesn't smell, and a place with fresher food.
The rats all back up against the wall again. Take? No
We're going
take.
to-
Birds
we're going-
take. No.
No, we're going to bring you there. We're going to help you. We're going to... I don't know how to put it.
Station falling apart. Our ship isn't. We can get you to safety. Find you a home.
We... They pause for a minute. Home? What home?
Home. A planet you can be on. With your people.
Home. The rats kind of almost huddle up, looking between one another. You can almost hear the thinking. Never been home. Only stories from before
find it.
birds.
We can take you home.
Great grandparents say home green. Nice place. No birds.
You can find it. Come with us. Be friends and help you find home.
The largest of the group basically goes over and to Setsa and just kind of sits on her chest and looks down at her face. Promise?
Setsa's in no position.
I promise. He tries to smile.
I do wonder what you were going to say of no position to something.
Oh, she has got no position to, resist the encroachment of one of the ratkin. So it's still a problem of her body's kind of in shock of the smell. So she just tries to smile.
Okay. We get others. But door?
Well,
We'll open the door.
We just wanted to try to arrange this meeting and make sure you wouldn't flee in terror.
Felt you. On station. Thought maybe more masters. So hid.
We're no masters. We are explorers. We're helpers.
We come to big room, all computers.
Is that where you three come, or are you bringing everyone so we can get out of here?
Bring everyone.
Alright, we'll meet you there.
So at this point, the group mostly is free to leave the room. If someone helps Setsa, who probably can't sit up. Bryce stands over Setsa. Are you all right?
It's in my hair, isn't it?
It is.
Bryce kneels down and helps put her helmet back on. I think maybe you need this.
It's not helping that much.
Bryce just shrugs and looks at the doctor.
I've had to deal with worse.
At this point, Setsa does try to sit up.
I blame Skipper.
And I'll let Marcus choose. I'll let you have this one for free, but if you want maximum comedy, you could roll another presence command. Setsa does indeed manage to sit up, a bit woozy.
And Rick, this has been watching from the top, says, do you want me to unlock the doors?
Yes, please.
And then he goes back to the command and tries to open everything up again.
So at this point, everyone is free to leave the hydroponics bay, as stinky as it is. The group of Starfleet officers meets again on the command deck, waiting and wondering exactly what's going to happen. That is answered after a bit as the door opens, and in basically comes a procession of small ratkin in tattered rags and cloth, bearing various rusty tools and blowtorches and things. Near the end of the group are what appears to be some very elderly rats, one of which is making its way along with basically a piece of metal hammered out to be like a crutch, limping its way across. In the middle are several newer rats, including at least a few that look almost like babies. And being carried by several of the rats all together, you recognize as one of the trees from hydroponics that they've pulled up and basically planted in a dirt ball that they've wrapped with a tarp. Various others carry different vegetables and things. They kind of group up and look around and look very nervous as the three rats from before move to the front of the group and face the party.
This might be a bit shocking to you, so I'm going to give you a warning beforehand. How we get from place to place sometimes is we are beamed there, or just... Rick, how would you explain this?
My quick answer is that it will be transported very quickly, and it'll be very, it'll be like you're here, then the next you'll be somewhere else.
Okay. They seem nervous, but they just stand together in a general group.
Setsa says,
We can take the other trees if you want them. Ew.
Be nice.
Yeah, we'll come back and get more of them. Just
Yeah, we'll get everything. Just let us know once we're back on board our ship. If you want anything else from the station, we can easily get it.
So, we go now?
yes, we go now. Eli taps comm badge. O'Connor to Reliant. All of us to beam over.
Curtain of blue light falls over the party as well as the gathered ratkin, and when the curtain drops again, the party is now in the transporter room where there are already several nurses, including a grumpy-looking Gid. The rats have a moment of slight panic that gets kind of transmitted to everyone nearby before they calm down since they've been warned about it. But it's one thing to be told about transporter technology, and it's another to experience it firsthand.
Welcome to the USS Reliant.
The nurses basically move forward and they start carefully checking the ratkin, starting with the most elderly of them. For now, it seems like the situation is under control. Bryce looks around and says, I think senior staff should get to the bridge and maybe inform the captain about this, especially what they were saying about home. I can stay and watch over things here.
Alright, let me just get this suit through decontamination so I could take it off without smelling.
Eli gets very decontaminated.
Good.
Setsa goes through decon twice.
You are very decontaminated.
Rick will just go through once.
You are very decontaminated.
So Setsa takes the suit off, but she does still have the general problem of what's up with her hair, and just says,
I'm just gonna go to my quarters, fish shower. When Marcus has a moment, just tell him to come see me.
Understood, Eli says as he takes off the now clean EV suit.
This leaves Mary, Rick, and Eli to head up to the bridge and talk to the captain.
Mary goes through standard decon real quick after the encounter down below, and probably one of the first people on the bridge. Is that kind of stuff doesn't bother her all that much.
He didn't stomp through wearing it all.
It doesn't take Mary very long. She doesn't take very long with the decom. She takes off the suit, which is the only thing dirty. She's perfectly fine, and she gets to the bridge before everybody else, who's much more paranoid.
With
eventually-
Rick, it's not paranoid, it's just being prepared.
It's just avoiding the smell for Eli.
Yeah,
He
and I
saw
come to think about it, I
mistakes
suppose
made.
this is a ship that's dealt with polywater. But either way, nothing bad happens to Mary, so as the guinea pig, she's totally fine.
Again, it's just for the smell, if anything.
But I'll assume that in time, all major officers make their way to the bridge.
Yep.
So now we zoom in on the bridge where Marcus Graves is wondering what the hell has happened.
what the hell's happened?
We found survivors, refugees.
Yeah, I'm getting the initial scan data on that.
And
so,
poop. Lots of poop.
telepathic. Did you bring the poop back with you?
We went through decontamination, but Setsa is currently taking a shower.
No, but did you want us to? I can go back.
Moon from his
The
spot
poop
at the
is
front.
fine.
Moon from his spot at the front just sarcastically remarks, I'm sure the scientists will come back for it later.
Speaking of that, we will need to send the scientists back for some trees.
All right. We'll see to that for those that aren't helping down in medical. So are these survivors from the planet or elsewhere?
They seem to be slaves from the original inhabitants of the ship. Forced workers,
But-
slaves, same thing.
Is this their homeworld?
No, this is... Okay, the original inhabitants were bird people. Bird people, dead.
Okay.
Bird people, planet down below. These rat people, I think they came from that other planet. Oh yeah, there's another planet, as you could tell, but these two went to war. They invented radio, started shit-talking each other for God knows how long before going into space solely to kick each other's asses.
If these were slaves of the bird people, would they necessarily be from the other planet?
I mean, I'm assuming since they sort of implied their, planet was elsewhere.
Yeah, elsewhere, but these species did have warp travel. So let's not jump to too many conclusions as yet, because I might have to plan a survey run through local systems to try to find their homeworld if that's the situation we're dealing with. So, if you can find any more information about that.
Yeah, we don't have a
Green.
lot of information. As far as I'm aware, the only thing we do have is that it's likely an N-class planet.
All right. I'll contact science team, see what we can pull up, and check with command about adding that into our mission rotation. So, got survivors. Everyone's fine. We got some data. Anything else?
No, Captain.
All right, I'll let you go. Do any cleaning that you might need to do, considering that there was apparently poop down there. And Eli
Sorry.
Eli, if you're up to it, yeah, helping down a medical would probably be good right now.
That's actually what I was about to say. I'm going to go help the refugees.
All right.
I'll go down and assist with transporting everything off the station. That could be useful.
All right. And Moon, just so we're not leaving anyone behind, do a scan of the station for life signs and also check to see if there's anything similar in nearby ships or stations.
Checking, sir. I didn't pick up any life signs before, and I'm not now. Just the background radiation. The ships are cleaner. I can tell that there's nothing alive on them, but I guess there was room for error on the station.
All right. Any signs of additional poop? Let's try that.
No, sir. Poop scan negative.
With that, Eli heads to turbo lift. Well, have fun poop scanning.
All right. Just in case, Moon, do another couple of sweeps for poop. And he's smiling, sits back down in the command chair.
Rick will...
Moon, slightly to himself, just leans forward. Could have been on a normal ship. I could have had normal assignments. Now I'm poop scanning.
Add it to your CV, Lieutenant.
So Rick would have disappeared on the... with Eli on the turbo lift.
We need to get out of there before they rope us into poop scanning.
Poop scan.
I'm not going to be put on dung duty.
Poop scan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're not a California class. That's not our job.
So at this point, there are probably a couple things that the group could do. We could cut down to medical, and Eli could talk to the ratkin that we have discovered. The captain could go see whatever it was that Setsa wanted. Or we could attempt to scan the system to try and find out what the other race was that they were going to war against. See if that leads any clues.
Let's do that one too.
All right, so Moon takes the ship back out into the outer reaches where they found all the ships before, and they basically spend some time scanning them and occasionally sending over groups of red-shirted ensigns to investigate. Fortunately, this is not TNG or TOS, and the red-shirted ensigns come back with information and not a body count. They determined that the corpses on some of the ships are avian, just as was normal before. The corpses on the other ship appear to be primate in nature, except for the fact that they apparently had 3 eyes. It looks like they were primates, probably fur-covered. It looks like they had tails.
So, Graves definitely adds into the ship's itinerary search for the Ratkin homeworld.
At this point...
Meantime,
Oh, go ahead.
In the meantime, he instructs a cargo bay to be retrofitted with the trees that they brought back into a group living accommodation with extra medical equipment and bunks and little roomlets that they can make use of.
That doesn't take too long. So is Setsa done from her shower?
Setsa is done from her shower. She steps out, still groggily, still not feeling quite clean enough even after 4 scrubs. But it'll do without removing her hair, which she is definitely not doing at this time.
She gets the call to report to Astrometrics to try and find any M-class planets within reasonable distance at Warp Travel 1.
She puts on her uniform, just kind of just collects herself for a moment, and heads over to Astrometrics.
The task lies before her. She has a star chart, and she has to try and find if there are any M-class planets within a reasonable travel distance at Warp 1, which is probably the maximum that these ships were capable of.
So, science reason.
Science reason.
Science! Whose successes?
There are quite a few planets that are marginal within the area. There are no M-class planets. It does look like there was an M-class planet, but it looks like that one was hit by a comet recently.
She adds that one as sort of the prime candidate on the list. And then assembles a list of the other marginal planets and sends that up to the bridge.
Yeah, we zoom up to the captain's ready room where Marcus has a new report from his girlfriend.
Marcus reads the report and relays to Moon. If we're all done on the system, let's go ahead and set a course for that. This planet Sets us found.
Moon takes a look. Okay, looks like this is system HSW 586G. Yeah, looks like this one had some comets pass through within the last year or so. All right, sir, this will take about 5-10 minutes. I mean, we don't have to go warp 1.
Yeah, indeed. I'm a little bit worried about what we might be facing down there. So, yeah, we'll just collect the information, but I do want to make sure our subspace communications are up in case we have a humanitarian situation down there.
Acknowledged, sir. I'll have comms keep an ear out just in case there's anything weird going on.
So Graves kind of just takes the seat a little bit with trepidation, just because this would be the prime candidate if it wasn't just hit by a comet. So it's just like, yeah, this might be bad. So he checks in with medical about the status of the survivors they brought on board. And yeah, just sits in his chair, writing it out.
The response comes back from Ged, although Eli's in the background if he'll want to add anything. Ged simply storms up to the thing and says, "They're healthy little shits, if a bit glowy."
Can take care of the glow, however.
What he said.
All right, that's good. We could have more. Stay tuned.
Wait, more, I click.
Like that.
Cut to outside camera as the Reliant goes to warp and enters into another system, one with a very large ice cloud surrounding it, source of a great many comets that pass through the system at various points. This system is smaller, featuring only one large gas giant near the outer edge, responsible for flinging the comets inward, and north towards the habitable zone, one other rocky planet.
You scan the rocky planet.
Do I get paid extra for this? Moon remarks. I'm not scanning. In a minute, the results come back. It looks like the planet is basically suffering under a kind of volcanic ice age from volcanic ash clouds across the planet.
All right. Any signs of life?
I mean, at this distance, I'd just be guessing.
Well, let's close that distance then.
Now that I can do. Moon maneuvers the ship through the system and comes up towards the planet. At about this time, in medical, all the rats freak the fuck out.
Oh, whoa, what's going on?
The female rat from before runs up. Bad, danger. So bad. Cold. We hear far talks.
Bart. Ah, shit. You're hearing more of you.
Yes. Hear other minds. Far talk.
Eli taps his comm badge. Captain!
Yep.
Our friends down here can definitely feel something. Others.
That's what I was afraid of. The planet we've encountered is suffering through a volcanic ice age. Things could be bad down there. So I want to set up a triage unit. I'm going to contact Starfleet real quick while we are en route to try to get support vessels here ASAP.
Camera pans up to the bridge, and Moon just says, "Shall I get Futagami for you, sir?"
Yep, give me Futagami.
Aye, sir. Ailing Admiral Futagami. On screen now. Screen resolves into the face of Admiral Shoko Futagami, and she looks down at Marcus and says, "Oh, great. You've got that look that says there's trouble."
Yeah, fortunately not the shooting kind, but definitely a bad kind. We've identified survivors from a race that was abducted by the species that killed themselves off in the system we were sent to patrol. We have located the species in question's homeworld, the ones that had survived, and their planet is currently suffering an ecological catastrophe. We've made first contact, they know we're here, and they probably desperately need help, and I don't think the Reliant is equipped to handle that single-handedly.
Futagami slowly kind of collapses towards her desk, putting her hands on her face, and then just moving them back to rubbing her temples. Please tell me this is a warp-capable civilization.
They were transported via warp and held by another species.
Oh, High Command is just gonna love this. Right, I'm sending the Athens to help you. They're a Nebula class. Captain Gates can help evacuate the planet. I can get more ships, but it'll take time.
All right, that's enough to start with, I think. We can start. We can do some makeshift work down there to create emergency habitation zones if necessary. Yeah, I got some ideas on that. So we're going to see to the situation, find out exactly what we're dealing with, but I wanted to contact you ASAP for that help.
I'll pass it along to High Command. I don't know what they're going to say, but just keep doing what you're doing. If we can give them a fait accompli, then I guess the Prime Directive won't matter anymore.
Well, they're telepathic. They've already made contact. They already know, so...
Well, that's good. Maybe I can lean on that as an excuse. Anyway, Captain Gates and the Athens will be along as soon as they can. Futagami out.
All right. Moon, where are we?
The screen winks off. And now, Captain. Now what?
We are going to that planet.
Moon has actually placed the ship in orbit around the planet, which is what caused all the rats to freak out in Medbay.
All right. So Graves is going to contact Medbay.
Dr. Eli O'Connor, you've got incoming messages.
O'Connor here.
Eli, we need more information. If the Radkin have the ability to communicate with the inhabitants on the surface, that would be a great way of collecting that information.
Would you like me to send a liaison up to you?
That would be good if they're comfortable with that.
Alright, he looks for the trio.
It doesn't take too long to find the three most familiar of the rats. One large female, and one medium-sized male, and one very small male. They form kind of a trio that seems to look after each other.
Hello, you three, once again.
Yes?
Would you like to help save your people down on the planet?
Yes, we help. How?
The captain needs help, contacting the people down there. What are your names? Let's make this a bit easier.
The female steps up and squeaks. Jess.
Yes, alright.
The middle, male kind of waves. Aro.
Aro?
And the smallest one just kind of looks up at Eli. Neen.
Say again?
So now you know that they are called Jess, Aro, and Neen.
Right. Jess, Aro, Neen. The captain needs some help communicating with, with the people down on the surface, so we can locate them and better help them.
Okay, where Captain?
I'll take you to the turbo lift, and we can go see him.
Okay. The three fall in line behind Eli.
All right. He leads them to the turbo lift, leaving Ged to deal with 20 rat people.
There comes a shout as the medbay doors close. You lousy bastard!
First officer business, bye! He brings them up to the bridge.
Captain, you now have 3 ratkin and a medical officer with a shit-eating grin.
Graves says to the trio, I'm Captain Graves, and we have, as you know, just entered orbit of your planet. I want to help as many people as possible, so yeah, tell me how we can help.
This takes a while. The first thing, though, is that they're able to pinpoint you to more or less the last major population center on the planet. And they're the remnants of government, essentially. So at that point, you have a rough beam down site of where you expect to find a good many survivors.
Graves says, all right, I'm going down there. Rick, want you on the away team. Waitley, come with me. You 3, you're also, your presence would also be of great assistance. And Eli, you 2.
Of course, Captain.
Okay, we go.
Alright, so Rick will prepare as much stuff as he can in terms of shelter, in terms of, like, maybe whatever scrubbing machinery, like atmospheric scrubbing that he can bring down. Just whatever he thinks he would be useful in a survival situation.
One of the science officers does pass some information to Rick that the best thing is probably just warming materials. The planet is suffering right now under basically a lack of light, and the whole planet is more or less freezing.
Alright, so he'll bring warm, comfortable blankets.
The group is once again together in the transporter room.
Graves has also ordered portable heating units as well as food. Lots of food.
The operations personnel get together on the food using the industrial replicators. So that is currently being taken care of in cargo bay number 3.
Right. So Graves says, all right, energize.
Now I should note that before this happens, Waitley, you've noticed that these rats, especially the more of them there are in an area, are an almost oppressive psychic presence. These little guys are very strong. You'd have to estimate that they're probably about as powerful as a Lethian each. With that in mind, we now join the crew as they transport down to the surface and find themselves calf deep in volcanic ash at the outskirts of what looks to be a ruined city.
Graves sighs, and just one quick thing though, we've been going for about 3 hours now.
Oh, sorry. If everyone wants to take a break, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, how much longer do we want to split this into a 2-parter, or?
I'm basically done. In fact, I can just run a quick epilogue if you like.
I really want to pass out stuff.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and run the epilogue, then. Basically, it's going to take the crew a long time to try and gather up all the survivors, but as it turns out, the people on the planet were, let's say, hopeful. A lot of the species on the planet have, died and gone away, as well as much of the population of the Ratkin. However, they have been able to keep together seeds and occasional plants and lived off of canned and preserved food as best they could while, hoping for a rescue. Or at least for things to get better. Across the investigations, you learned that the species is called the Riotheans, and their planet was Riothea. They basically yet mostly beamed up to the Athens. Captain Gates is overwhelmed in small rodents, and now Starfleet is going to have to find them a new place to live.
Aww.
However, the first 3 Ratkin, Jess, Aro, and Neen, more or less come to the captain and ask to be allowed to stay on the Reliant, feeling a great sense of duty towards their rescuer.
After kind of a short conversation and just sort of getting a feel for their skills and interest, Marcus agrees.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a game.